Today, I'm going to give you my ideas on what Canadian homeowners can at least consider in their search for more freedom and more control of their finances. I'm Andrew Henderson. This is Nomad Capitalist, where we've helped everyone from multiple billionaires to online celebrities to everyday 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors like yourself who want to legally go where you're treated best. And what we do here at our team, we're not financial advisors, we're not attorneys, so don't take this video as financial advice. But what we do is help people plug into our team, plug into our network, legally exit countries like Canada, get out of their tax system, make sure you're doing so in a legal and proper way, and then establish a new life somewhere else in a country or a series of countries where you want to live for lower taxes, more personal freedom, more business opportunities, more personal relationship opportunities, whatever the case may be. We help people manage the taxes, the immigration aspects, the whole holistic pile of what you need to do to move your life from Canada or the US or Australia, wherever it may be, to the nomad capitalist lifestyle. And so that being said, what we've heard from a lot of folks in Canada is, how do I get out? Where do I go? We've been putting out a number of episodes recently on how to escape Canada, the steps to do that, opportunities to do that. But I want to talk to all the homeowners who are out there who are saying, how do I afford doing this? Because that is a complaint that some people have. I can't afford to leave. It's one of the biggest reasons people tell us on social media, I can't get out of Canada. And so when I came across this chart, I found it very intriguing that home prices nationally across Canada have doubled under Justin Trudeau. That's due to a number of factors. You have certainly an inflationary factor. You have the fact that people are just willing to pay more. More people are moving. More people are buying larger properties during the pandemic. More people are coming into Canada. $430,100. That's the number the day Justin Trudeau was put into power in November 2015. Fast forward to February of 2022. Just barely 6 years later, the number has just a wee bit more than doubled, $869,300. Now, let's go back to imagining November 2015. Imagine that you bought a house, you had no equity, 100% loan to value, 430,000 Canadian dollars. Assuming over the last 6 years and change, you have been paying down at least a little bit of your principal in that time, and assuming you never put anything down, fast forward to now, and you have an extra $440,000. Assume that maybe you had a little bit of a down payment, a little bit of principal reduction. Let's just round that off to $500,000. Now you can convert that into US dollars, euros, whatever way you splice and dice it for a currency that you'll need when you leave Canada, because nobody else is really using Canadian dollars. That's still a good chunk of money. And so it knocks out immediately the excuse of, well, how do my family and I buy plane tickets? Yeah, plane tickets are more expensive in the Americas right now than they were before the pandemic. But hey, $500,000, you can buy a lot of plane tickets. So that's the first thing. Now you've got a way out of the country, or any other method of transportation for that matter, boat, ship, car, you name it. So you can at least physically get out and have most of that money left over. Now, what can you do from there? Well, if you have $500,000 Canadian dollars, you can go to many of the emerging countries that we talk about, and you can buy a house for cash, put cash down on the table. Now, I grew up in the United States. I grew up living in, big houses, 3,000, 4,000 square foot houses. And so just finally, after all these years living overseas, I purchased a house that is within that size range. I'm living now in a pretty substantial sized home, and I still have other homes around the world that are smaller, from a very large hotel suite up to, a decent sized kind of apartment. And so you've got to decide how much space do you want. I think coming from the US, when I bought a house in the US at a very young age, it was just me. I had way too much space for me, so much so that I invited a friend of mine to move in since I was traveling so often. And I said, not only do I not need all this space, but I'd like someone to watch the place when I'm gone. And I gave him a great deal. But do you need as much space as even Canada? If you're willing to downsize a little bit, especially if you're single or if you're just a married couple or a significant other couple, you can probably go to countries in Eastern Europe, countries in Central or South America, maybe countries in Southeast Asia if you're not going to be living in the big cities. Kuala Lumpur does have some bargains in Malaysia. Outside of Bangkok, you can get some lower priced areas in Thailand. And then you've got plenty of things from Mexico to Panama to Colombia, Costa Rica. All over Latin America and Eastern Europe, you've got some pretty good deals. So if you could take that money and you could buy some kind of property, it could be a city center apartment, or it could be a house out in the suburbs, or it could be a house out in the rural area. You can define that, but I promise you'll find a place where you can pay cash. So now, what have you done? Now you've taken a debt obligation where you have risk, where you've got a monthly payment, where you've got something sucking away at your monthly income. and you've put it into a cash property that can potentially help you get residence or citizenship in that country. You go to a lot of the countries in the Balkans, you buy almost any property, you can get at least a 1-year residence permit. If you keep living there, you can renew that residence permit. Probably not a path to citizenship in most cases, but you can get that residence permit. In Latin America, buying a property again can get you a residence permit, and if you're willing to learn Spanish, you can probably work your way towards citizenship if you actually live there for a number of years. You can do the same thing in Brazil if you're willing to learn Portuguese. Asia, residence again, in some cases. Thailand, if you buy a big enough property, about $300,000 US, you can get a residence that keeps going. Again, citizenship in Asia is difficult. So now you can secure your access to another country. Some of these countries, by the way, can be very tax friendly. Thailand, Malaysia, Panama, Uruguay, for example. Portugal, potentially, depending on your situation. All these countries, you can buy a property that could lead, in some cases, if you spend enough money, to a residence permit, or even in cases like Turkey, it could lead to pretty instant citizenship. So now you've secured your immigration. Potentially you can use that country if you're actually living there and it has a good tax policy to reduce your taxes because you left Canada, right? And so what does that do to your monthly income? Let's say you make $10,000 a month, okay? We work with folks, who make $50,000, $100,000, $1 million a month in some cases. But let's just say you're making $10,000 a month, okay? You might be paying $4,000 of that in taxes by the time you average everything out. So now you're left with $6,000. Maybe your mortgage is $3,000. You don't have a lot of money left, okay? Now imagine if you get rid of the mortgage, and imagine if you get rid of the tax bill, or at least substantially whittle it down to, let's say, 5%. Now that business that you're running, that service that you're providing, that freelance work you're doing, that remote job that you have, now you're in the driver's seat, and now you are going to substantially be able to contribute to investing, whether it's reinvesting in your business, investing in stocks, investing in Bitcoin, investing in whatever it is that you want, potentially investing in some of the things that you're going to see when you move overseas. When you come to Southeast Asia and you say, oh my goodness, this real estate in Cambodia is so cheap and people are coming in from China and buying it up and the prices consistently go up. Let me get in on that and I can have a better return than I might have had in Canada. You're going to find opportunities. And so my message is, listen, you have to make the decision whether you want to sell your home. I'm not going to tell you to sell your home, but what I am saying is, if you decided to sell your home, who knows where these prices top out? Certainly Canada wants to bring in a lot of immigrants to take new jobs and create opportunities. They believe that's the strategy. They're going to bring in, I think, 1 million plus in the next couple of years. Those folks are going to, in many cases, want to buy homes, or they're going to rent homes and you're going to see prices go up on the buy side. You obviously have plenty of Canadians who are okay with what's happening in the country. They don't mind paying the money in tax. They don't mind having their freedom suppressed. I've always told you, don't wait for your fellow citizens to stand up for your freedom and your finances. Generally speaking, they're not. So those groups are going to continue to raise prices. They're going to raise the prices. And so does this continue forever as interest rates start to go up? Who knows? But if I'm in this position, I'm going to take my money off the table because if I don't trust Canada, if I don't feel good in Canada, if I don't feel that that's where I'm treated best, why would I want one of my biggest assets in that country? And by the way, it can be Canada or any other country. I'd say the same thing to an American, a Mexican, an Australian, a German. If you do not trust the country that you're living in, why do you want that asset? At the very least, potentially consider selling the property and then renting. And I've had a number of clients over the last year or two who did exactly that, and they put all the money into Bitcoin, or all the money into Hex, or all the money into gold, or all the money into whatever their investment of choices. Or in 1 or 2 cases, they put it into a business. They saw a big opportunity. And so if you could sell your home, put that money in the bank, potentially you want to put it in some kind of offshore bank and then handle any legal formalities in Canada, because we're not trying to hide money. But if you could put it overseas to where perhaps it were a bit safer, while you rent for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, what do you do in that timeline? You go and look, where do I want to move? Some Latin American countries, for example, some European countries. If you want a residence permit there, you need to apply to the local embassy where you live. And so you might need a few months to get that process taken care of, to where before you leave Canada, you have that sticker in your passport, or you have that residence permit ready to go, that you can then move to that country, go there, and then finish all the local formalities. In other cases, you don't need to do that. But if you're going to leave the Canadian tax system, there's going to be certain things that you're going to need to change about what you're doing in Canada. You're going to need to cut some of your connections. And that's not my tax advice, but it's just you're going to need to make some changes to your lifestyle in Canada. And so you might need a little bit of time. If you were to sell your property pretty quickly and rent for a while, you could figure out your move, something that we help people do every day. You could figure out your move, and then you could go after that period with all the extra money. Maybe you rent in the new country for a while and you figure out, where do I want to buy in Portugal? Where do I want to buy in Malaysia? Again, we help people buy real estate at reasonable prices without the insane commission markups and the gringo premiums all the time. But you still want to know where it is that you want to buy. And so if you had some money, let's call it 500,000 Canadian dollars, safely stored somewhere outside of the jurisdiction, legally reported as required, and you could move towards, whether it's a month from now or 13 months from now or whenever, buying a property for cash, eliminating the mortgage expense, eliminating or greatly reducing your tax expense because you're now moving to live a tax-friendly lifestyle, whether it's in one country or dividing your time between three as I do. So now you've put a lot more money back in your pocket. Your cash flow statement every month is much better. You own your home. Hey, you can buy plenty of places in the countries that we're talking about for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You've still got six figures in many cases left over. After you bought the plane tickets, you bought a house for cash. Even if you now don't have a job, you can figure it out because in some of these places it might only cost $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for someone to live. Even though I don't live for $3,000 a month, I like to sometimes think, hey, how would I live if I had to live for $3,000 a month? And if my goal was to take control of my finances and to get back my freedom, I wouldn't mind reducing my lifestyle for 6 months while I figured out my next move. Now, obviously, Canadians who own businesses in Canada, you can keep running that remotely. You did it during the pandemic. And if you have a job, maybe you can work remotely in another country. If not, can you provide that service freelance? If you have a business online or if you do anything that works in the cloud, like trading or investing, that obviously works. And then the income conversation isn't even a question. But the bottom line is more cash flow, zero debt, position yourself in a new country where you can take back the freedom. To me, if I own a house in Canada, I can't decide for you, but that's something that I would be seriously considering. Don't stop now. We've got well over 1,000 more videos here on YouTube for you to watch and learn how to go where you're treated best. And if you want to work with Nomad Capitalist personally, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn about our unique, tried and true process, garnered over years of experience, and learn how you can become our client.